Hello there, welcome back to Jennie Designs with Paper. Thank you for stopping by my channel. We're using more pattern paper and making more fractured style cards. So get comfy and let's get crafty. So today I'm using the Echo Park Magical Birthday pattern paper. This is a nod to Disney kind of pattern paper. I've selected 2 pieces of paper, and it's important to use a double-sided paper on this, or else you have to cut up more papers. So I have 2 pieces of pattern paper. I will also be using the Honeybee Big Bold Birthday stamp and die set. I have 2 card bases, a red and a yellow card base, and 2 pieces of white cardstock. And the first thing we're going to do is cut this pattern paper down to 3 by 3 inch squares. After they've been cut to 3 by 3 inch squares, I'm going to cut each square into half to make 2 triangles. And then I'm going to take those triangles and make 4, and then take even smaller, so I have 8/4 halves. And I didn't use the halves on the cards. So I will tell you right now that this video is a lot shorter than the process to make these cards were, because I'm going off a picture. Excuse me. There was a lot of fiddling, and most of it I eliminated. In fact, I took everything off of this first card 2 times and started over. So I've put on the back of my triangles just a tiny bit of double-sided adhesive so that I can remove them and adjust them as necessary, because I was having a hard time getting this to come together for 2 reasons. The first was I chose a pattern paper that had a specific directionality. On this card, the A side has a whole bunch of happy birthday words with cakes and balloons, and that was bad. It was too directional, and I was having a hard time getting the right triangles in the right place. So eventually I just said, forget it. I don't care if it's right side up or down. The second reason I had a hard time putting the first card together specifically was because they don't meet in the middle. And I was expecting from the photograph for them to meet in the middle. And then I realized most likely the focal point or the sentiment image that you put on the front of this card covers that up some. So once I got that out of my brain, I could focus on lining up the triangles straight to the best of my ability. And the visual look here is, when you have your sentiment on the front, is that your center pattern makes it almost chevron design the way they line up. So it was kind of important to get the spacing correct. So don't use a directional pattern paper. Once I had it down properly, I went through and added Tombow glue on the back of the pieces that didn't have enough double-sided adhesive, or just on the corners, to make sure that it stayed intact. So the first card is put together. I'm still fidgeting and adjusting it, even still now. And you'll see later on in the video, I've got the whole card almost assembled, and I'm still fidgeting and adjusting, especially the corner triangles. For some reason, they just would not go on. So we're going to go ahead and start with the second paper I chose. And this one is also problematic because the balloons are specifically directional, right? Now, they're not as bad as the words, because balloons don't necessarily keep their tail end down all the time when they're floating around. But that knot does make the bottom of the balloon the heaviest. So most of the time it would be hanging down there. But this one was easier to put together because I had realized I didn't care about directionality anymore, and that, because I'd already figured out the other card, the center was not going to be completely filled, and I could work around that. So it was a matter of getting the spacing between the triangles right, and picking which triangle went in each side. So that was a little bit extra too. So it was fun. This series of cards has been fun for me, looking at pictures and trying to figure out how people did it. And if you've watched any of the other cards, any of the other Wednesday cards before this, you will notice sometimes I got it right, and sometimes I got it all the way wrong. And I did it the absolutely most difficult way you could have done the project. And I am sure everybody watching this, there's going to be somebody who says, oh, that was so easy to do if you did X, Y, and Z. I am so glad for you that your brain works that way. My brain has its own special train track, And sometimes it is not straight. Sometimes the track that my brain train runs on is more like a roller coaster, and it eventually comes to the stopping point. So now that we have all of the triangles put on our card panels, we're going to go ahead and put those card panels onto the front of our card bases. And then we're going to start talking about sentiments, because all of these pattern papers that designs that we've been working on the last few weeks, you've done all the work in placing out the pattern paper, kind of like quilting. So why would you cover that up with a giant focal image, right? So we're using smaller focal images or large sentiments. I did trim the panels down a little bit, especially the yellow one. It just did not quite take up the entirety of the 4 by 5¼ inch piece of paper. See, I'm still fidgeting with that corner. So they're not exactly the same size mats, but it's okay. So for a sentiment, again, we're using the Honeybee Stamps Big Bold Birthday Stamp and Coordinating Die Set. This is from their new release. It's their birthday month release. Because this is their 9th year, I think. So we're going to go ahead and stamp these sentiments onto some white cardstock with Versaclear Nocturne Black ink, because this ink is fabulous on new stamps and bold sentiments. It almost always stamps perfectly the first time, even on a new unstamped before stamp. I do wipe my hands over the stamps to kind of get some of that manufacturing, film off of them. But this is a really good ink for especially new stamps or like these more bold sentiment stamps. So I'm going to go ahead and run those through my die cut machine, but they're not popping too much off that card. So my next plan was to add something to put the sentiment on. I grabbed a circle die. These are the waffle flower circle dies. And I just put the sentiments on my plate, grabbed a circle that was bigger than each of the sentiments, and ran them through my Empress machine on yellow and red cardstock, because I have yellow and red card bases, and matchy-matchy. My brain likes things to matchy-matchy. We're going to go ahead and add those sentiments down with some liquid adhesive. I'm using Tombow Mono Glue today. I did pick up recently the MFT Precision Glue. I'm going to work with that a little bit and see how much I like that. To me, I feel like glue is usually glue. It's all about how it's delivered. Kind of like mascara. Mascara is mascara. It's the brush that makes the difference, at least in my opinion, in my experience. So we'll see how that glue works. But anyway, so we have one circle on the red card, the yellow circle on the yellow card. And once that open center is cut up, you can kind of see the pattern that the pattern paper makes. Now, I had tons and tons of triangles left over, and so I used them all to make this card, and I did it completely off camera with no pattern whatsoever. I was just using the triangles. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed this kind of crazy. I have a couple of other videos here I think you will like. I also have that subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed yet, I would love it if you did. Leave me a comment down below and tell me your most favorite shape. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video, and have a great day.